Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to Live Life Driven. This is the Answers Yes podcast. I love when I got a guest that comes on the show that's full of energy. I can tell it in the message that was sent to me originally. And this is Alex Weber on the line right now. Alex, so good to connect.
Jim, thank you so much for having me.
Dude, we could probably talk for hours about a variety of topics. I learned that very quickly. And by the way, maybe we just have you back on again. What stood out to me is you've got a book out. It's called Fail Proof, Become the Unstoppable You, which falls right in line with saying yes to stuff.
Yeah. I love your mission. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, right? Say yes to life. That was first said to me when I was a sophomore in high school, and it stuck with me. And so I love it, and so fired up to be here.
What are some of your big yeses? I see from your book, it says international speaker, award-winning entertainer, and then American Ninja Warrior. Obviously, there's three big yeses right there.
Well, I think you nailed on it because, it's kind of a culturally positive, trending concept to say no to things now. And I only believe in that if it's honoring your big yeses. If they're no's in regards to fear or concern or, oh gosh, people might judge me, or I might try this new activity and I might not be good at it, that's not a very powerful no. And for me, what I've always really listened to was, it's funny, some things will happen in my life. Like lacrosse was my first dream, and then American Ninja Warrior came in my life, and speaking and stand-up comedy. And it was one where my body already was saying yes. And it's funny because I would kind of humor my mind talking it through and wavering back and forth, but it was more of just going through the motions because my body, my gut instinct had already made the yes. Mm-hmm. I think my mind was just catching up.
Yeah. I think that happens often to us, or we don't even have the courage to get the body and the mind to say yes, but it's there the whole time.
Yeah. Malcolm Gladwell has this great book, Blink, and in it, basically they do these, experiments. And what it came out to was that our instinct, gut, intuition, whatever you want to call it, knows the real answer well before our mind can apply sounds and language and communicate it. So there's something to it.
A good friend and coach of mine, David Meltzer, he talks about, he just talks about the vibration in the room. The experience that he usually gives is you walk in a room and there's a husband and wife and they've been arguing. You immediately know there's tension in there. Whereas if they're having a good time, you immediately know, okay, it's a safe environment, right? And I think instinctually, we know when it's right and when it's not right.
Yeah. We do. And I think, it's human to wrestle with that a little bit because often some of these rights, these big yeses, Jim, that you're saying can be scary. I have just found a life truth. I wrote this on my whiteboard and I looked at it. It was a lesson that I learned from coaching high school lacrosse, which was one of the best chapters that I've ever done. And it's good things happen when you go all in. And what that means to me is I don't know what those good things are going to be. Nobody does, but it's just proven over and over again that if I do listen to that yes and just commit fully to it, good things happen. And so I hope that can encourage someone, you don't need to know the specific outcomes. You might have that goal in mind. Awesome. But just stepping into that yes, good things are going to happen.
We talk about a values-based yes, understanding what your own personal values are. I talk about all the time. My values start with God, family, giving back, health. The last thing on my list is actually business and making money. And if I can follow those values in my yeses, the yeses are always right. Do you have a system like that for yourself?
Yeah, and I love how well structured that is. And I think I'm taking a lesson from you, Jim, of I think I could boil that down. But it's true, and I'll often speak, obviously at companies and associations, but also at higher head. I'm speaking tonight at Texas Christian University. Mm-hmm. And that's really what I encourage others and myself to do is, what does success look like to you? Because that's just a sound that means something different to different people.
Yeah.
You know, if I were to say my values, and this was a decision I made in college when I was playing D1 lacrosse, Ivy League, I was supposed to go into finance, and senior year, midway through, I pulled up and said, this isn't for me. And I switched course. And, you know, the real activating qualities for me is I want to feel alive. I wrote down my senior year, I wrote follow your fire. And that really is what we're talking about, of listening to that DPS. And to me, it's listening to whatever really ignites inside of us that makes us feel alive. And for me, what I'm thankful for is so much of that purpose is with people.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel any chapters in my life that have been meaningful have all involved meaningfully engaging with other people.
You know, I try to explain, you know, I gave my values, how that relates or translates to real life. Just before we got on the air, you asked if I was in Montana, which I am. You know, the first time I flew in here, my wife and I were racing competitively in the Spartan Series. And we chose,
love it.
As such a great organization. We flew in Montana intentionally and to race a race because I wanted to look around. Well, in the first city that we drove into, on all four corners, they had like the 10 Commandments, you know, and we're surrounded by beautiful mountains and kind of snow and just blue skies. Like, wow, I could live here. Because when I think about my values, right, number one value is God. And when I think about a city that's openly putting out their values, there you go. You have that connectivity, and that's how you take that that tool, that value tool, and apply it to real life. I think that your book is similar in, you know, when you put strategies in place and you can write these things down and read them for yourself to understand how you can do these things.
Yeah, and I love it, and I'll share. You know, this is not a story I often share, but it's so aligned with what you were saying with Montana. I moved out of LA, and really the biggest reason I moved out was when I was finishing the book. I had just competed on American Ninja Warrior. This is spring. This is April 2021, and I was like, I just got to get some air. I can't compete on American Ninja Warrior and then the next day go sit at a desk and do emails. Like there needs to be some like living of life here. And three people in one day, randomly, one person I just met that day, independently all said, have you ever been to Boulder? And the third one was my mom. I'd never heard her say Boulder before.
Yeah.
So I went to Boulder there, and I had a very similar feeling to what you're saying. And that's where I moved. I moved there a few months later. And, you know, really what the book is about, if I had to boil it down, it's about listening to those big yeses, mm-hmm. and then how we actually make it happen. Because usually it's either our internal voice that tells us it's not possible, or someone in our immediate circle says, no, that's not you. It's not for you. Or, oh, come on. Now you're this person. You're going to go, oh, you think you're too good. Whatever. It's someone who shoots it down. Or we fully commit to it, and it doesn't go great. And then we start to believe, oh, maybe it's not possible. Maybe I can't start this company. Maybe I can't make that relationship happen. Maybe I can't move to this new city. And so with American Ninja Warrior, it helped me just boil down a system that we can kind of take all that out of it and expedite the process so we can get to what actually matters.
I want to hear about that system, and I'm going to tell you why, because you touched on something. So many of us surround ourselves with people that are in tune to just saying no to things, right?
Yeah.
I remember 10, 15 years ago, I was going to climb Mount Whitney in California, and it's the tallest mountain in the lower 48 states. And my dad's like, you can't do that. You need oxygen. I'm like, no, you don't. It says right here on Google, I don't. He goes, no, I know, but you know, and he was full of no's. And my brother and I went and crushed it. It took us a long time. We had a guide and the whole bit. I went back. I did it 5 years ago. I ran it 5 years ago in 7 hours and 15 minutes, all 22-mile round trip. So, you know, the point is, I was being told, no, you need all this other stuff. And it was a yes, and it became true. So what are some of the steps so people don't fall victim to that?
Well, that's so cool. And I wonder, you know, what was it inside of you? And then I'll get to the steps, but what was it inside of you that was just like, no, I'm making this happen?
Oh man, I've been saying yes my whole life, right? That's why I had to do this show. I'll tell you what, here's the quick answer. When I was 16 years old, I listened to Mark Victor Hansen speak. He just came off of a series. He's out of Newport Beach. I was living in the area at the time. And what he said in that speech, he wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, co-author.
Wow.
He said, what you believe is what you will achieve. And I literally wrote that down. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you because you're on Zoom. This cassette tape right here sits on my desk and has been in my area. Well, there you go. Since 1986, Mark Victor Hansen, where he says, what you believe is what you achieve. I've always believed that, right? Yes has not been a part of my vocabulary. So I know I detoured there from your answers, but you asked, and that's why.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's all related, and you're kind of you're hitting on we're very similar in so many ways. But I actually have, from high school, I'll just quickly share this. From high school, as my high school bio teacher in 9th grade, he had these philosophies that he would write and put on the wall. And I love this one. And it goes everywhere with me now. And it says, give the game the best you have and the best will come back to you.
Yeah.
And that is another one where, just like I said, good things happen when you go all in. It's kind of just been all right, when I don't know what's going on and life is confusing, all I know is the only thing I control is to give my best. And that has just always made sense to me, is all you can do is the best you can do. That's something in the book. And good things happen. We may not know what those might be. They may look different than how we drew it up on the whiteboard, but good things are going to happen. So, I go through 6 steps in the book, and really where it begins with everything is brave honesty, which to me, Jim, I imagine you've been around a lot of brave, strong guys, men and women. And I think it takes a special kind of brave honesty to look at ourselves or look at lives and say, you know what, I would just like this to be better. Yeah. I thought this would have happened for me and it hasn't, but maybe it still could. And that, I think, is real bravery. So the first step is claiming goals that actually matter, battling through all that nonsense that other people say, all the chatter of our mind, and just saying a big yes to, you know what, I want that to happen. I want to run Mount Whitney. I want to compete on American Ninja Warrior. I want to write a book. I want to reignite the romance in my relationship, whatever it is. And then step 2 is make it real. So what I say to that is, what can you do right now? For instance, in my life, I would like to have a better relationship with my older brother. Mm-hmm. I think there's seasons to relationships, and right now it's been a little strained over the last year and a half. And so, okay, how do I make that real? Well, when you and I end this, I send him a message. I just say, hey man, thinking about you. I send him a funny joke, anything, but that's just making it real.
Yeah.
And then step 3 is diving in the deep end. So let's say you're listening to this and you're like, you know what? I do want to run a triathlon. All right, what's the biggest action you could take today to make that happen? Is it signing up for a group? Is it committing to that race 3 months from now? What's the biggest action you can take? And then steps 4, 5, and 6, we can dive into those as well. It's basically how you chain react, how you hyperdrive what happens every single time we all get in a setback.
Yeah, yeah. What a great program, to kick it off with brave honesty. Especially us as men, well, and women too, we hide so much from everyone, but we're all people. We all have similar struggles. We all have the thing in our past that, is glaring back there at some point or another. And if we can start having brave honesty and come out with it, we can be so much better. I love that you start with that.
Thanks, man. And I agree. And, it does take a little bit of us checking our ego a little bit, or our pride, or our, to accept that maybe something isn't, where we thought it'd be. And I run, actually, it came free because I needed it. I run a community for men, for high achieving men. And it's been cool because I agree with you. Sometimes it can be tough for us to open up about these things.
Yeah. I'm actually in a couple of groups myself. I'm in the Arte Syndicate with Andy Frisella. Great,
awesome.
Great group of guys. And then I've known Sean Whalen for a number of years through off-road racing. And I hopped in his group to see what it was all about, figure I'd support him. And you know what's cool about both these groups, and it's a good mix of men and women, is the amount of honesty amongst their peers. Right? And those are the people that you see flourish within the group or achieve the goals that you kind of get to know them and see that they're putting out there, is when they're honest about where they're at and they're willing to share that. they're growing so much more.
So true. So true. And, I don't know why that is so difficult for us. It might be, as I say, I don't